myself.
Hello, welcome. This is the Scarlet and Rage podcast. I am Michael, the voice of reason. This is my co-host Jay, the voice of rage. And good to be coming to you with the episode this week. We have got some insider transfer portal information. It is legitimate insider, verifiable insider, direct source. So we're going to discuss that. We also have a little bit to discuss about Lee Corso retiring. We're going to kick off with that. And of course, the Buckeyes were at the White House here recently. So we'll touch on that for a moment. But the big transfer portal news is really what we're looking at. Who are they going to land to try and kind of do to the defensive line what they did to the offensive line in the transfer portal last year? It's not going to come cheap, Jay. I'll tell you that. So I don't know where our pocketbooks are, but it's not going to come cheap. But anyhow, we're going to get into that tonight. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe if you have not. And please, if you want your comment to be read and highlighted, do a super chat and we will 100% do that. I don't know how the chat's going to be tonight. It is the off season still. Things are kind of dragging along, but depending on how busy it is, kind of determines how many of the regular comments we can get to. But Jay, anything spectacular going on since the last episode?
Spectacular, no. Busy, yes. I'm sure you can relate. Just life in general, man. How was your Easter, Michael? How was Easter, man? Was that all right?
Yeah, everything went good. Good, peaceful Easter around here. How about yourself?
Yeah, we went to church and then we went to if anyone is ever in the Charlotte area, I highly suggest that you eat Bad Daddy's Burgers. They are the best burger in the area, and it's between that and like Thurman's in Columbus, Ohio. There's Son of Thurman in Delaware that I usually try and get to when I visit Ohio. Some of my family, aka my mom, doesn't like it, so it's like they don't. I love it. I love their food personally, like Thurman's, food and everything. So, but they have that Terminator burger. I don't know if you've seen like advertisements for it or like pictures of it. It's pretty insane, but
I have not. But is Thurman's really that good, Jay? Because I know you've wanted me to go to Thurman's before. Is it that good?
Yeah, heck yeah, okay. It is. You have to. I mean, I would say the French fries are not very good, but like you don't go for the French fries, you go for the burgers.
Yeah, but
the burgers are legitimately good. They're juicy. They have every single like burger type under the sun. It is. Yeah. I'm always looking for like the best burger, the best steak, the best pizza. Yeah, I'm like a food connoisseur in a way.
Thurman's. I'll have next time I'm in Columbus.
I highly doubt you're ever going to go up to Delaware.
I was just in Columbus like last week.
Yeah, I've never been to the one. I think it's in German Village.
Okay, down that way.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, man. So, I don't know. Went to church. Went to Bad Daddy's, and Bad Daddy's is just amazing. So, leave it at that. Michael, big news in college football, not really with Ohio State. Well, I guess it is with Ohio State, but Lee Corso is retiring, man. Can you believe that? I mean, I guess we can't, we should believe that. Absolutely believe that. I mean, the man is 90 years old. I didn't know he was that old. That is insane.
I did not know he was 90.
No, I didn't know either. What are your thoughts, man? I'll leave the floor to you.
Well, Lee made a career out of kind of like being a wisecrack kind of guy, and it worked for him. I remember him way back when I was in high school. Back then it was a little bit closer to the time that he actually was a college football coach. I know he coached in Indiana, probably among a few other places, but One thing about Lee, he didn't always give the most astute commentary, but he always got your attention. And he was a big part of that game day success they had during those years. And it's been kind of sad to see him here in these last few years as he's, I think he had a stroke or something like that. He's certainly been, a bit disabled. So it's definitely probably time for him too. But, definitely an impactful career by Mr. Corso.
Yeah, there are two thoughts that come to my mind. Number one, is this show about to go in the tank? Because I feel like my thing with College Game Day is, it's 3 hours long now. Remember when it first came out, it was like, well, I guess, I didn't really start. I wasn't watching Game Day in the mid 90s, but I would say when I started following in like the early 2000s, it was like 90 minutes long, which was perfect. But now I only watch Game Day for like the first 30 minutes and then the last 30 minutes. And that, I guess an hour's worth, because everything in between is a bunch of filler BS that somebody like me is not going to care about. And really most of the football fans, I feel like they're trying to appeal to like a wider audience. I don't know if it's really worked out for them or not. They still continue to be 3 hours long, but the biggest thing they would always prep. They're like, oh, we're ready for Lee Corso's, mascot pick.
Yeah.
So is the show about to like go away or go into the tank? Like, is it going to survive this?
Well, I don't know. We'll see. It's definitely ESPN has been in a real struggle for some years now, and that's one of their premier shows and their premier viewing time. So if that starts to falter, then they're going to be in even bigger trouble than they've been in. But I don't know. They're bringing oh, good grief. The shock jock.
Pat Mac. He was already there.
Yeah, Mac. Yeah, but he's kind of come in, so like he kind of provides that energy and that kind of clown show, type of thing.
I don't know. It's a different kind of.
It certainly is.
I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm saying,
It's
but they're trying to gear up for the future. We'll see how it goes.
And then I guess the second point is so the official date for him to have his last show is he's not even going to do it all of next season. He has a set date, and it's legitimately week 1, August 31st. So I don't know if he's going to do week 0 or not. Probably not, because they're usually overseas, I think, for that game in Ireland. But I don't know. Maybe not. But one game, he could come full circle here, because obviously we all know Ohio State and Texas play in week 1. I would think that College Game Day would go to that destination. However, Lee Corso coached at Florida State. They're at home against Alabama. That could be a choice, but Texas and Ohio State are at the very least going to be 2 top 4 teams. I don't know how Game Day doesn't go to that game. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's going to be the premier game of the weekend. So, Alabama, Florida State's not close. You got the defending national champion versus the semifinal team that they, that was defeated versus 2 teams that didn't make the playoffs. One team that didn't even have a winning record. So, yeah, it's definitely the marquee matchup. I would think they'd be there. They got to be there.
Well, I think they'll be there. I would say it's like, probably 60-40, be there, not be there. Regardless, it would be really, really, really cool. And, for him to go full circle, because I say that his first, the first College Game Day, I believe, was in 1993, the Catholics versus Convicts, Notre Dame and Miami.
Yeah.
Or was it Notre Dame, Florida State? I know it was Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But his first, he put on the Notre Dame hat, in his first appearance. But the first donning of the mascot was with Ohio State and Brutus in 1996. Ohio State played Penn State. So, I don't know. That would be so cool to come full circle, essentially, 30 years later.
Ohio State was his first time that he did the mascot thing?
Yeah, because I read the story. Kirk Herbstreit's wife was like an instructor or something for the cheerleading team or something, and she was able to get a hold of the Brutus mascot or mascot head or something, was able to use it. That's really all I know. And yeah, you look at that and it's amazing how the Brutus mascot like changed like a couple years later. It was like thinner back then and different, but now it's like better looking. I guess, with time,
Yeah.
it actually made Brutus look better.
Yeah, Brutus is sleeker now.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I saw there that Lee Corso was a part of the College Game Day that took it on the road. So that was in 1993, and that's when it became the College Game Day as we know it. I did see there that they had some studio version of College Game Day that went back to the season, the 1979 season. So I guess they did some kind of game day show in studio. And then in 93 is when they took it on the road and started doing the game day format that we know today. And Corso was a part of the very first one.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to think like Craig James, or I forget. I think he was a part of it. Kirk Herbstreit wasn't on until like a couple of years later. Yeah. I forget. I honestly I don't really remember. But yeah, I don't know. That's just it's sad, but it needed to be done. Good for him to retire. All of that stuff. Michael, Ohio State went to the White House last week, literally 7 days ago. Did you watch the video by any chance?
I watched most of it. Yeah. I didn't see all of it, but I saw enough. I saw enough of it. I saw a good 12, 14 minutes of it.
I watched the entire. Well, I mean, what's so funny about it, man? I mean, I think I know what you're about to laugh at, but your thoughts.
Well, it was funny, right off the bat, knowing that Day is a registered Democrat. So likely he's not a Trump supporter. Likely he voted the other way. I don't know. But, and then Trump was in rare form. You could tell he was tired. You could tell he'd been doing 100 different things, and he didn't prepare that much for the presentation. He botched a few of the names and a few of the stats and some things that didn't make any sense that he evidently read wrong.
Himeki Ibuke.
Yeah. But overall, nice time. It seems like the guys really liked it. They were when Trump said that he offered Day to go into the Oval Office. The players some of them seemed really excited about that. They actually kind of jumped up and down like little kids. So yeah, it was overall, it was a, cool thing for them to get to go. I'm glad they went.
Well, I will say this, man. It seems like you weren't as sold as on Mr. President, but I got to be honest. Trump may not know what he's talking about, but he sells it like he does. I thought he read that manuscript with such like vigor and excitement. Like I was like really pumped up, and he called it the Ohio State.
Yeah, no, I mean he did good for the most part. There's a few gaffes in there, but he certainly I think he watched the games. I mean, you could tell.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And he made comment. He watched the Tennessee game. He's like, I watched that game. Yeah,
you could tell that he had watched the games and gave his Trump commentary to all of it, which was pretty entertaining.
Do you think, like these fake fucks like Joe Biden and Barack Obama, do you think they actually ever really, I know Obama like watched the NBA and stuff, but he just seemed like such a fake fan.
Well, yeah, you never know, because it was very much the political veneer, that you were seeing anytime they got up and did something like that. And Trump is just kind of, he is who he is. He's going to give you the real, the raw, the just kind of, he just sounds like a guy who's describing the game he watched,
Well, Obama was, like the NBA crowd obviously leans more left. Trump makes appearances at college football and MMA, which leans more right. And the NFL, I would say, is like probably split right down the middle, if I were to guess.
Probably so.
Did you ever hear like Barack Obama's like tried to explain why he was a White Sox fan like 15 years ago? Did you ever hear that?
No, I don't think I ever heard that.
He, like I vaguely remember it, but I can promise you this: he's not a White Sox fan. He was like basically trying to like hype up the Cubs, and he was talking about the Cubs, but it didn't make sense, and it kind of circled back to the White Sox, and it's like, dude, you obviously don't follow the White Sox.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't try and fucking fool us. You know what I'm saying? Like, you son of a bitch. I mean, he fooled an entire country on Obamacare.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
still,
So,
still
but
figuring that
yeah,
one out.
yeah. But again, President Trump was awesome. Obviously, we saw what happened with Mr. Vice President JD.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, dude, it's a good thing that trophy is sturdy.
Yeah, absolutely. That would have been brutal if the thing would have broke, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, I don't know if they would have made another one. I mean, it's like if you
Surely
break it
they
at the
would
White
have.
House, shouldn't there be some kind of rule where
Yeah.
they're just going to replace it? Or like President Trump's like snap of the finger, like, all right, get him a replacement.
Yeah, if the vice president breaks the championship trophy, you got to get him a new one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And President Trump, I think he's listed at like 6'2".
Mm-hmm.
He's not 6'2", man. I think he's like all of 6 feet tall.
Well, he was probably 6'2" when he was 40, but
Yeah.
guys typically shrink an inch and a half as they get older. And he's almost 80. So I mean,
Because
that's,
Will Howard just towered over him. Will Howard's what, 6'4"? Like he was
yeah,
like at least 3-4 inches taller than President Trump. And
yeah,
yeah, and President Trump is a big guy. Like honestly, he is a big
yeah,
dude. But like it's just amazing to see the size of these players, man. Like, you see him standing next to our players, and it's like, and he even said it. He's like, God dang, I do not. No one wants to mess with these guys in a fight.
yeah,
He's not wrong.
yeah,
He is absolutely not wrong.
yep.
But Michael, we have a reason to be here, like a real reason to be here tonight. Obviously, to talk about the transfer portal. And, we made mention of last week. There are very, very, very clear weaknesses, especially not really as much in the front seven, but the front four on defense, Michael. Defensive line is a massive, massive, massive problem. Ryan Day even came out and said that they are going to be shopping in the transfer portal, as he should, to find somebody to, help. Like, size and power along the defensive line is really non existent in its current state, Michael. Teams like Texas and Michigan will power run this team to death. They're not going to get off the field unless they get bigger, more powerful players. Like, Caden McDonald can't be your only 320-pound nose tackle. You need probably 2, 3 of them. Honestly, you need to be able to play those powerful packages. Our goal line defense in 2024 was so good because we could play Ty Hamilton at 290, Caden McDonald at 320, Tyleik Williams at 320. We don't have that girth and power for 2025.
Well, Jay, it would be a kind of a dream come true. I'm not. It's not something I'm expecting, but that weakness on the defensive line could pretty much be shored up at least a long way if they were able to land 2 huge portal targets. Bo Atkinson, one from University of North Carolina, and Murad Watson from Syracuse. One a tackle, one an end. That's a big ask, but if they got both of those guys, I would feel much, much better about the defensive line situation.
Yeah, so I looked into Bo Atkinson some from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. If people will know, they're in the ACC. 7.5 sacks last season. Pretty dang good. It was less than Sawyer and JT, but the thing is, he was a true sophomore, I believe, or a redshirt sophomore. He's got time to get better, another offseason with Mickey Marotti. Maybe it's possible. Our strength and conditioning coach, if people don't know who that is. But we have to remember something. That conference is awful. People expecting this guy to come in and be Jack and JT may need to reevaluate things. It's highly unlikely, but they definitely still need him because I think he's more of a complete player than Caden Curry. And he gives Ohio State elite size and length at the edges with Kenyatta Jackson and him. Have you looked into Bo Atkinson at all, Michael? Any thoughts there?
Well, I've only looked into his stats, and I mean, he was a pretty productive end at 35 tackles, 7.5 sacks. Not, elite level really statistically. I mean, elite level end's going to be in the 40s in tackles and, double digits in sacks, but he's close. So, I mean, I don't know what he's thinking he's going to get. I don't know if he's going for 7 figures, but certainly would be a good player to get. It wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to wreck, every defense he comes across. But it would be he'd be a quality starter that they very much need.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess, now I think he would start opposite of Kenyatta, man. I was saying before we need him as depth, but I'm like looking at our defensive ends, like who do we really have that is a 3-down player as a defensive end? Again, you have your speed rushers like CJ Hicks, but he's not a first and second down player.
No.
Like you need guys that can be able to stop the run and rush the passer, and he is that guy. Kenyatta is that guy. They both have size, girth, power. But again, they are edge players, and you definitely need him. You absolutely definitely need him. Because then on third down, I saw him playing inside some of defensive tackle on pass rushing situations. He's got a really good burst. He's 6'6", 6'5", whatever he is. He might be 6'5", but again, that's Sawyer size. That's good. A
Close
lot
to
of
200,
speed.
Around that 270-pound mark, give or take. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, got good speed, good length. Definitely need him. I was reading today. So I was reading today on some message boards, and it does sound like Ohio State leads for him based on the South. I was looking at some South Carolina message boards, and their insiders tend to believe that Ohio State's in the lead, but it's down to Ohio State and Georgia. South Carolina wanted this kid bad. He's not going there. Georgia had the first crack at him over the weekend. They gave him a lot to think about. He's heavily considering them. Ohio State. He's visiting Ohio State today. I don't know if it's just a day trip and going home to Raleigh tonight, or he's going back tomorrow. Hopefully he's going back tomorrow, and then he goes into decision-making mode, because I would expect we'll know something by Thursday or Friday if he chooses Ohio State, Michael.
Yeah. And Georgia in the mix there. Georgia is, I read an article this week. Kirby Smart is scrambling a bit down there in Athens to figure out how he's going to build and complete his rosters in this NIL era. There was a press conference, and he was, the SI article was reporting on it. And essentially he said, kind of out of one side of his mouth, that he wants some things with this NIL to change, but then out of the other side of his mouth kind of said it doesn't look like it's going to. And this really affects our system. And we're going to have to look at how we address that. And so I would anticipate that they're going to be aggressive in the portal. I know they lost a lot of guys out, 28 guys or something transferred out. That's a lot of their recruiting.
A lot
talent.
of players to Purdue, by the way, which is weird, but Purdue is like taking advantage of that. And
incidentally, the Big Ten is taking advantage of that. And I can't see the SEC letting this rule go on much longer with entire classes transferring out of some of their premier programs, because if they transfer out, Jay, they can't go to another SEC school. And so when they leave Georgia, they've got to come to the Big Ten, the ACC, and obviously the Big Ten is in a stronger position to get a lot of the good players than the ACC is, or the Big 12. So that's a real advantage for the Big Ten in this new landscape, is these players that leave the South cannot go to another Southeastern team, within the conference.
Yeah. That rule was in effect back with before all of this. You're right. And now I don't know if it's going to hurt them some, because a lot of these really good SEC players are transferring to Big Ten schools, and the Big Ten, you can transfer within the conference. But the SEC, that's so weird. The SEC is so they're so proactive, and they have such foresight into things. But with this, they are behind the times. These players leaving the conference.
The Big Ten came with a couple of swift uppercuts, and the SEC is on their heels right now. They're not knocked out. Don't get me wrong. They're not knocked out, but they're on their heels right now. The Big Ten was just in a better position to capitalize on this new NIL world, and rules like that, which forces the talent out of the conference into other conferences, only, aids and helps that. So there is another big battle that Kirby Smart is also pitted up against Ohio State. And that's with the big defensive tackle from Syracuse, Murad Watson. And that's where we do have some insider information.
First, let's just break this guy down. Should we just do a little breakdown of him before we get into like the real like insider info that we actually have on today's show?
Yeah.
I watched some film on him, man. He is explosive. He's big. He's not like a pure nose tackle that I would want, that 320 or 330 pound guy, but he is somebody that is over that 300 pounds. And, you know, he passes the look test, man. Apparently he was like first team, like all freshmen, you know, I don't know if it was all ACC freshmen or like in the country. I don't know, but yeah, yeah, man, he's an impressive player. I would love to have him. 6'3", 313 he's listed as. He's from New Jersey, so you know, you would like to think Ohio State would have the best chance at him because that is Big Ten country, but you know, those SEC schools, man, they're good in New Jersey as well. But yeah, I saw some film on him. You know, he doesn't put up a lot of stats, but usually defensive tackles don't. Their entire job is to basically just, you know, hold up the offensive line and let everyone else eat. That's their job.
Yep. And, you know, he's a guy that I would say at 19 years old, let's say he's 305 or 310 pounds. Maybe he's not quite the 313 he's billed at, but let's say he's close to that. At 19 years old, a couple of years from now, when he's 21, he could be one of those 325 pound, 330 pound guys in there.
Yeah, no, that's true. That is true. Because, you know, 2024, he is a true freshman.
Yeah. And, you know, he's a guy that feels like he's got a big price tag. So, you know, Ohio State's got to be willing to pony up. And so,
okay, Michael, I'm just going to set the floor for you, man.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say who you talk to. Let's keep that person. You know, you have somebody within the Syracuse football team
who is on staff,
and is giving you the rundown on this guy. You know, as a player. So let's start with him as a player. You go and just speak this guy's words. Let us know how he is as a player, and then get into what are Ohio State's legitimate chances. Michael, the floor is yours.
Okay. You know, what I was told is that he's a really good player, a guy that worked hard and really bought in, and they were shocked to see him go because he was a guy that had really bought into, you know, what Fran Brown is selling there in Syracuse. And, you know, they did not see this one coming, but, you know, the word in the building today, he was in the building today, talking to some of the coaches. And essentially it seems that his position was basically, he, you know, not that he wanted to go, but he can't turn down $1 million. And so some agent, somebody is putting in his ear that his price tag, that what he's going to be able to demand is $1 million or possibly even north of $1 million. And what was said in the building today is that Georgia and Texas have definitively come to the table and are, you know, kind of jockeying with each other and bidding with each other a little bit. I don't know about Ohio State. I don't know if they're going to let them duke it out and kind of see where the price goes and then come in from there. So I don't think it all means that Ohio State is out of the picture, but I think right now the prominent buzzes and offers have been from Texas and Georgia, and he is feeling like he's going to be in the 7 figures.
Wow. Man, I can't imagine what, you know, I've read something today that Syracuse is coaching. Their entire roster has just been plucked, man. They've lost like, you know, you mentioned Georgia, but they've lost like 30 some players. You know, Fran Brown's a damn good recruiter too. You know, former assistant coach at Georgia. I believe he eventually became he wasn't their defensive coordinator, but you know, he was high level position coach and then goes from that to, I don't know if he went to become a DC somewhere before he became, you know, the head coach at Syracuse, but man, they have been destroyed by the transfer portal. And it's kind of sad because a lot of these guys, you know, this just wouldn't be a problem 5 years ago or something. So, right. Michael, man, you know, people try and say NIL isn't a problem for Ohio State, but then you're telling me numbers like this, that is coming straight from the horse's mouth. And Ohio State is it doesn't look like they're going to play ball on this. And because of that, I don't think they're going to get him, man. I don't. So, and he is somebody they direly need. Ryan Day has said it. And how are Texas and Georgia outspending us here? That shouldn't happen. Like, okay, Texas maybe, but no circumstances should Georgia ever outspend us. None at all.
Not when you've rolled Travion, Judkins, Sawyer, Tuimoloau. All those guys are rolling off. So there's got to be some money around. Unless they're shrinking the budget, which I can't imagine they're going to do. There's got to be some money on the table. I guess it's a matter of, do they think that this kid is worth putting that kind of money into?
Yeah, that's I don't know, man. Again, like, he was a freshman, he was good, and I honestly, I want to look up his accolades or like his rewards right now. I actually don't know what exact was he. First team All ACC. Was it all freshman team? I mean, that's still damn good. He wasn't like a full time like All American or anything. Okay, so 247 Sports freshman All-American, midseason freshman All-American. Okay. Yeah, freshman All-American. Okay, so definitely room to grow there. Definitely somebody you would want. Man, oh man, for him to go to Texas would be such a killer, because we play them in week 1, and they are loading up on the lines. They're just I don't know, man. They're just really good on the lines there at Texas, man. Them and Georgia, they put such a priority on them. And Ohio State, I understand like NIL is a big thing here, but even before that, Larry Johnson right now is not giving us much as a recruiter.
Yep.
And it's killing us, our roster.
Yep. Yeah, he had 30 tackles last year. That's really solid production out of a defensive tackle. Only 1 sack, but hey, in college, a lot of times you don't get a lot of sacks out of those guys in the middle. My question would be, what other options do they have? I mean, they have to go try and get somebody in the portal. I mean, this is probably the best guy that you can go get. He's got upside potential, only being, 19 years old. I think they got to make a strong offer at this guy. You can't let him go to Texas or Georgia.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll make a strong offer, but you're going to have to offer more. I mean, like, he's going to, again, like Texas, Georgia, and Ohio State are all on the same level as a football program stature-wise. So between those three, he's just going to go to the highest bidder at that point. The prestige is the same at each one of those schools. So, what did did this person offer anything else? Like, I don't want to out them, like, who they were, but like, are they just upset about the situation? Can they not believe it? Or, that player was on campus today telling them that he's being offered that money.
Yeah. Yeah. That was really it, just saying that it really took him by surprise, and it was a money thing, and he said, and this is this is a coach, he said, I can't blame him. He said, I really can't blame him at that age, passing up $1 million. He said, if I went back to being 19 years old and I had a option to get $1 million, I really don't think I could pass it up. And I can't blame him for doing it. He said, it's just the crazy, crazy world we're in right now.
Speaking of crazy world, man. I think that recaps it, that for him. Hopefully Ohio State gets him. I would not hold your breath there. Another player, did you happen to see the story on David Stone from Oklahoma?
No.
So he went into the transfer portal, I believe, Friday, either Thursday or Friday night. So he was a true freshman. He's from Oklahoma, but then went to go play football at IMG. So, he's listed as a Florida player coming out of high school, but he's actually from Oklahoma. He is, one of those 300-pounders you would want. I think he was like 310 pounds. He was a former 5-star coming out of high school, composite top 15 player from IMG football. But he entered the transfer portal I think like Friday. Let's just say it was Friday. Mm-hmm. Sunday, less than 48 hours later, he is back at Oklahoma. He basically just, he wanted more money. He was just like, hey, I'm going to shop around. And then Oklahoma's like, whoa. Hold on now. Hold on. Come back. That was, they must have I don't know if they were cutting his money some, or I don't know how that works, man. I've heard some different things, but to be like in the portal less than 48 hours, man. Like, can you imagine like what the rest of the team has got to think of that? Or just, I don't know.
I know. And so now you can just go in the portal and come back. I mean, at one point I thought once you went in the portal, like you were gone. You had to find somewhere to go.
No, actually not. If you're in the portal, you're basically just opening yourself up to be recruited. But you could always go back. Now, again, that college doesn't need to take you back. They could always say like, all right, you're in the portal, you're gone. But that's their choice.
Yeah. Okay.
The letter of the law says if somebody enters, I mean, Sam Williams-Dixon, he was in the portal and he went back to Ohio State.
Okay.
So, it's up to that college's choice. Now, again, this is a case-by-case basis. If someone is shopping around for like more money, then I'm telling them to fuck off, get out of here. But if they're like legitimately want playing time, I can understand it. I might let that play. I would probably let that player back if we had like, full-on conversations about what his pathway to playing time was, if he's good enough to play here. Because, you have, after spring ball, you have those conversations with these players. You have sit down one-on-ones with each and every player on the team by your position coach. And they talk to you about like, pathway to playing time. Are you a talented enough player to actually be at this university or not? Do you need to look around? Like those hard conversations happen in college just the same way they happen in the NFL.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So again, I don't know what happened there, but I think that's just a bad look for him.
Yeah. Last portal topic we'll kind of cover before we hop off tonight. Nico is ending up in the Big Ten out at UCLA, another quality quarterback on a Big Ten opponent. So I'm all for it. I think, obviously he screwed up. He thought he was going to get more money. He ends up getting quite a bit less. But
he's in California.
Yeah. You mess around and sometimes it doesn't work out for you. And this one didn't work out for him. It seems like coaches were really turned off by it and they kind of banded together, almost like NFL ownership can do at times, to try and exert their will and punish certain actions. And that's what they did. And, UCLA, I think, gave him $1 million, $1.2 million. So he's somewhere between $800,000 and $1 million short of what he would have if he would have just stayed put. And he learned his lesson. I hope other guys in the future learn their lesson and don't, take his lead. But at the end of the day, another solid quarterback in the Big Ten, and whatever raises the Big Ten level of play gets the Big Ten more prepared, more ready for high-level football in the postseason. I'm all for it.
Maybe another cracked Nico helmet in Columbus, Michael.
There we go.
So I made mention of this on the last show, my whole thoughts on the Nico Iamaleava saga there with Tennessee. And, I actually do blame Tennessee more than I blame Nico, man. Again, Nico is just doing what the environment provides him to do. Tennessee didn't have to pay him that $2 million or whatever it was for him to leave Los Angeles, California and come into Tennessee. They enabled him. And I made mention on the last show about Josh Heupel saying that no singular player is bigger than the team. Well, if you're paying him so much more money than everyone else, it does present the idea that he is bigger than the team. Yeah. So that is bullshit, Josh. You know what? If you want to, again, we will do a topic on this whole NIL and all of that bullshit, like our actual thoughts on it. But it's just major hypocrisy on Josh Heupel's end to preach all of that. But then, we saw like the money they gave him in the first place. They enabled him to, have this big, inflated ego. I just don't know what else to say. Like, you did this, Tennessee. So your creation is your downfall.
Yeah. Yep. And and it was UCLA's gain. So interested to see what he can do out there at UCLA this year. Certainly they're gonna have a little better quality under center. But that about wraps it up, Jay.
Yeah, I would say just reading around and stuff, it looks like Ohio State is still looking for like offensive tackle prospects, man. I've seen a few of them being mentioned around. Like I think Purdue had an offensive tackle that started last year that is in the transfer portal now. Ohio State's hosting him, and all of these different players. So yeah, I guess there's again, like I think they only have like 5 or 6 offensive tackles on the roster, which is, I don't know. I don't think that's great. They're probably looking for like another solid body there. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But other than that, yeah, short episode. We wanted to yeah, just wanted to
hit you with a little off-season content here, and you know, we'll keep you updated on all the portal happenings as they come. It's kind of week to week right now, and what we're going to discuss, we're just discussing the things that come up. But appreciate you guys watching.
Yeah, and we're so close to 800 subscribers, Michael. We are so close.
Yeah.
That's going to be like not a major milestone, but a milestone nonetheless. So
yeah, get us over that hump. We've been trying to get to
come on,
800 for a
people,
while.
like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, everything. We're still kicking along here. So yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, we are out. Thank you guys. We will see you next week.